Hey everyone, I hope you had an awesome weekend and welcome back to Planet Zoo and Ozaru. So today we are going to build the biggest and, well, the central habitat of Ozaru, which is going to house the Indian elephants, rhinos and peafowls. Actually a lot of peafowls. And we also, as a little bit of an extra, we're also going to build the snow leopard habitat, just because I wanted to put it in today's video and yeah, there's no reasoning further beyond that. I just wanted to put it in today's video. But before we really get into, well, building, I just want to say, don't be like me. Have a little bit of patience. Because as you can see, right now we are building some kind of river with a very shallow bit where the animals can easily pass through. But in Planet Zoo, water has a function and you can't really, well, you can't change the terrain surrounding the water when the water's in. In Planet Coaster, the water just disappeared. In Planet Zoo, you have to take out the water and then place it back when you are basically done with the terrain. So yeah, I took the water out to change a little bit about the terrain, and then I couldn't put it back in on the level that the shallow area would still be flooded. So in my impatience, I basically deleted half the habitat just to find out, like, why isn't this working? And then I found out that, oh, I just have to box up every animal, which I don't really understand, but alright. But then, you know, half the habitat was gone when I found out, like, oh, I have to box every animal, and then I can put it back to the level that I wanted it to be. Luckily, we have the undo button in Planet Zoo, otherwise half this habitat would be gone. Actually, half of what you're going to see being built in today's video was going to be gone. Also, I said in the last video that, oh, you know, with the coverage thing, like, that could be a little bit annoying, but yeah, it's in a way annoying, but I've also just come to the realization that I am more into Planet Zoo because of the building than because of the animals. Because you need to, you know, keep in mind the, well, the continent that your plants and such are from. I basically throw that out of the window in today's video. Also the coverage, because these snow leopards, I just wanted a forest kind of feel, and yeah, they now have like 0% on their happiness when it comes to coverage, because it's just way too covered. But speaking of covering, I'm going to really stretch, you know, the, well, it has a word for it, but I forgot it again. But, you know, we're building a shelter now. So, with this shelter, because this is going to be on the other side of the shallow area, I wanted a bit of like a pagoda, but also slightly functional. But then when I finished it, I realized it was, well, it's slightly not functional. Or at least, yeah. Let's just say, you can see the arches, which are going to be like the entrances, or at least like the whole thing is going to be open, but you see the arches. An Indian elephant can't actually, or at least from what I've seen, can't really pass through it. And this was built for the elephants, so I thought, like, oh, you know, this is big enough to, you know, be accessible to the elephants. I think only maybe the rhinos, but I actually even doubt that. But I think only the peafowls right now can actually use this building, so I might want to remove some arches, or make at least some arches bigger, so that the elephants and rhinos actually also can make use for the building that was actually specifically designed for them. Also, yeah, I finally realized, like, oh, you know, I need to stop forgetting to put my mechanics to research, so we have a little bit more pieces that we can use in today's video. Because I just forgot how to, you know, remind myself to basically do research. No, I'm actually still happy with, like, the pagoda we built in the first video, with only like the really basic pieces that you get at the start of the zoo. But yeah, this what we're building right now is completely just there now to be pretty and not really functional, even though it was designed to be functional. Again, it's pretty though. And I still want secretly to have like the coverage slider thing be able to be like not unlocked but to, you know, when you're in sandbox mode, I probably think that most sandbox players will just go crazy with buildings or with plants and such. Well, the idea that I have is already really, well, not realistic at all. I I don't know why, but I really don't like building realistic stuff. Like, for some reason. I mean, Tianopolis is also completely unrealistic. Again, Tianopolis is basically my ancient Greek planet coaster park, which I really need to get back into if I also want a video done for that tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow. Anyway, so yeah, building the... I think when it comes to these buildings that I've been building so far, like, the walls are pretty easy to build. The roofs sometimes make me want to pull out my hair. And I'm pretty proud of my hair, so that already says a lot. Anyway, yeah, I really, like, I've seen the Eastern Asian, well, pieces. I actually like my own roofs better than those pieces. I don't know why. Maybe it's because like a little bit of pride of like building something yourself. But it's also, I don't know. I think like if you've seen the Eastern Asian pieces that are going to be in the game, which yeah, this might be a huge spoiler, but I've seen those pieces anyway. But for me, they look a little bit too perfect, I would say. Like, I think this also goes back to what I said in the last video. I want my buildings to have a little bit of like roughness to them, and when buildings look shiny, I just think, no, I want things to look a little bit old and used. Anyway, I'm getting weird off track again, or off track it. I'm also losing my, well, I have never really had the ability to speak properly, so I can't really say that. But anyway, so back to what we're building. This is just there for decoration, because, yeah. As I said, I wanted a pagoda, and a pagoda doesn't usually consist of one story. Yeah, we're building 3. Though it's going to look very different from the pagoda we built in the first episode, because it's a little bit more chunky, I would say. Anyway, so I said in the beginning that we had a lot of peafowls, or if I didn't, because I have the memory of a goldfish. Yeah, we have a lot of peafowls in this habitat. And in the second episode we built a peafowl habitat, which I'm actually clearing out to basically have the Galapagos tortoise in them. So all the peafowls are right now in this habitat. And I still remember saying in the second episode that like I was kind of worried because my animals wouldn't get babies. And then I found out like, oh, that the tapir was pregnant. Oh, then the American, or not American, the African wild dogs were also pregnant. Yeah, don't just complain about animals not getting pregnant, because you, yeah, my peafowls just went nuts. All of them now are on contraception. All of them. Because I started with, I think, 4 peafowls in this habitat. Right now, I have 16. I'm not joking. Well, maybe I am. Probably it's like around 10, 12. But still. Like, I constantly got notifications of like, the blah 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 peafowl is pregnant. Yeah, that got annoying pretty fast, because of course you don't want like incest happening in your zoo, because then you get like weird animals, probably. I have actually not yet had, well, an incest zoo thing, so I don't know how much like the implications of having an incest zoo is. I'm also not wanting to figure it out, because I'm not that weird, I think. Yeah, So basically just I put them all on contraception. Now they're slowly dying off one by one, and actually I'm sort of happy with that. Also, talking about something slowly dying off, I said like, oh, you know, the American dogs, the African dogs, where, you know, they basically have one litter which had a lot of American dogs. I don't know why I keep calling them American dogs, but the African wild dogs. So, you know, they had a huge litter, and then, you know, I started building in this habitat, completely forgot everything surrounding it. Then I found out like, oh, why is this habitat like not visited? Oh, every African wild dog has slowly died of old age because, yeah, I put them on contraception. All of them. So basically, I had not realized that one habitat was just completely empty for probably like 2 years. Or like 5. 5 in-game years. Again, like I'm really more into Plant Zoo for the building than for the animals. So I'm really glad that I think it's confirmed that in the sandbox mode you can actually toggle aging off and on. Which is a little bit more easy considering like I think by the end of today's video or like by the end of what I've built so far we are in year 41 or something. That's for most animals like 4 generations. Yeah, I really just completely spaced out while building and didn't notice that my African dogs were just slowly dying off. However, since that the lemurs got well, I still have no real clue of like, you know, was it just deleting the items? Was it, you know, taking a better look at the keepers? Like, I don't know exactly what fixed it, but I haven't had an animal die of like starvation or anything yet. So I'm happy with that. Also, I still haven't had any lemur babies, so I'm kind of pissed about that. Like, I didn't have red pandas in this beta, so I thought like, you know, the closest thing we will get to a red panda in this beta is going to be the lemur. So I was very excited for lemur babies, because the lemurs are already pretty small, and then a lemur baby would just be tiny. Yeah, 41 years in, haven't got a single lemur baby. And no, I have checked on their like fertility rates, which feels weird in a way, but I've checked that none of them, or like none of the couples that I placed in there had like 0%. Also, I haven't had any warthog babies, but you know, I can deal with that. Like, it's always like the animals that I'm like not very like caring about, let's say the African dogs and the peafowls, that just go crazy. I have had multiple tapir babies though, and those are just the cutest things ever, because they remind me of Bambi. I do notice that I've probably been talking about nothing related to building for at least 10 minutes now, but yeah, I don't really know how to comment much on what we're building right now, because most of it is like pretty similar as like the pagoda that we have already built, so yeah. It's a little bit less like tall and a little bit more like broad and chunky than the original pagoda, basically because I wanted it to house elephants, but again, the elephants actually can't use it because the arches are too small, which I really need to change. But then whenever I see like, oh, you know, this is not useful for the animal because they can't use it, and then I just look at like it from a distance, and then it looks very pretty, and then I'm just like, do I want the elephants and the rhinos to be able to use it, or do I want it to be pretty? Tough decision. That's also sort of a reason why the habitat that we're building right now is actually going to be a little bit larger in like the ends of the video, or like well, 1/3 of the video, not 1/3, 2/3 or so. Then we basically enlarged the habitat because, first of all, this wasn't providing enough shelter for the animals. Because by the time you are watching this, I think I have like 5 elephants, 3 rhinos, no 2 rhinos because they got kind of angry with each other when there were 3. Kind of realistic also, that like an adult rhino or just an adult animal would be chased away because most animals are solitary. But yeah, this one wasn't providing enough shelter, so we needed more space to have like a shelter, and that shelter though is basically going to be a cave because I don't know, I just didn't feel like building like another pagoda in this habitat. Would kind of take away from this pagoda. And yes, some of those Indian peasants, if you color them correctly, really work well for like an Eastern Asian theme. And yeah, as you can see, there are a lot of peafowls because they just went nuts, and the tiny peafowls are really tiny. I confused some of them with, well, elephant poop. Because they have, from far away, they are just like tiny enough to actually look a little bit like elephant or rhino poop. So at first I didn't think like, oh, you know, the peafowls were going crazy until I saw that the poop was moving. Which actually does kind of happen in Planet Zoo. Poop does fall off slopes, but yeah, it doesn't go upwards. And then finally, yeah, I wanted a waterfall because I wanted some place where this water just came from, and also looks pretty. Also, I got a small like nook of the habitat, which basically I just turned into like a small like shelter-ish thing. Yeah, that was just like, the guests can't see this. I don't want to fill this with trees because again then the coverage thing would go crazy. However, I am very happy that it's like the coverage is really like it's going with like the size of the habitat. So if you have a very large habitat, you can actually put in more trees than if you have like a smaller, which is, I think I should have known, but I didn't. Also, if you have like trees that aren't really belonging to the animal but are still in the same continent, it isn't as hard of like a nope as having something from a different continent. So yeah, you see, or you saw me placing some pine trees which don't really go with like what the elephants and rhinos are supposed to be in. But because they are still from the same continent, it's not as hard of a nope for the animals. And yeah, I basically just struggled with plants. I saw the ladies are also using one of those like trees as shrubbery, and it didn't really fit with Ozaru because the trees are like very colorful and very like, you know, brightly colored, I would say, or like warmly colored, and then the rest of us are very cool colors, I would say. So it didn't really work. Also, yes, I'm putting down basically mist and fog just to give it a little bit more of like a mysterious feeling, because I want Ozaru to have that little bit more of a mysterious feeling. Also putting down a few more dead trees, because I just think like, oh, you know, with elephants, I don't know why, but I basically just thought like, oh, you know, they would maybe rub against the trees and then they would die and they would fall off or something. I think that's more akin to bears, but I just had that idea and I went with it. Also, you briefly saw me pan into like some peafowls basically just, well, hugging each other. I think that's like the closest thing you can get to like animals mating. Like them hugging each other or just like, you know, rubbing against each other. Like there's not going to be any like explicit things in Planet Zoo, of course, because it's more like geared towards education, and it's also, you know, it's meant also to be played by kids, so yeah. Also, I'm building a bit of a trench because the elephants just kept bashing into the fences, even the stone ones. Although with the stone ones they didn't really break through, but because I really like the look of the wooden fences, they would continuously, well, it is adorable when a warthog like goes right at the fence, but then a warthog doesn't go right through the fence. A warthog just, well, actually, he wouldn't really, you know, get at the fence. He would basically stop right before he was at the fence, and an elephant didn't. He just went through. So basically I had my guests screaming every 25 minutes when the elephant went through, and well, yeah. I wouldn't be that scared of an elephant, but then, you know, to suddenly have that thing break through would probably be a little bit more scary. So yeah, I'm basically replacing most of the fences with trenches and rocks so that the elephants couldn't really get through. I still have like one part of the fence that is wooden, but it's completely covered with rocks. But Mr. Elephant still, for some reason, for some way, goes through it. Yeah, there's one animal boxed up. I forgot, well, I wanted to just probably change the water and such. But now to the snow leopard habitat, because, you know, I am doing like a little bit of like an extension to the bigger habitat, but it's pretty much the same things, and I just wanted to build a snow leopard habitat because I haven't really played around with the, you know, snow things or like coolers. And also, don't really make sure that your snow leopard habitats are, well, that basically the fences are high enough, because mine would for some reason be able to get through it. Not through it, well, they would climb rocks. Though I'm building a plateau right now, which I was thinking of, like, you know, have a little bit of like, well, the straw that basically makes the shelter thing work on there. They never went up there. Even though these rocks are really meant for the snow leopards to actually get up. No, they would just jump a 2 meter or 3, probably even 4 meter high rock. Don't know how they did that, but I mean, cats can get pretty weird. They wouldn't get up this. They would go up a 4 meter rock and jump out of their habitat. However, the screaming guest is by now still a better sound than the constant eel sounds that they produce whenever an animal poops. It's an animal, it poops. I don't want to hear you scream ew every time. Yeah, at first those sounds are, you know, they are in some way very like cheerful and, you know, very happy, but after a while, like, it's now year 36, I got bored and annoyed by them by year 25. So yeah, while I'm building, I usually am on pause because I don't want to have those constant eel sounds. Also, yeah, a few more dead trees because I thought like, oh, you know, maybe the snow leopards would be able to climb this, and yeah, you can really quickly see me putting the straw down, but they have never used that. So it's just there to look pretty now. Because I don't want to chase the rocks, because then it wouldn't look pretty. Also, yes, I said like, oh, you know, the coverage thing isn't, well, I'm not going to really spend much thought on it, and this is the perfect example of that. Because this is way too much coverage for a snow leopard. They are very happy though with their boxes, or at least like the box enrichment items. One of the snow leopards actually tried to sit in them. I don't think it was like an actual like action they do with the box, but I think it just glitched out. But yeah, there was a snow leopard sitting in a box, which is very cat-like, I would say. But yeah, this is way too much coverage for the snow leopards, but it just looks pretty, and it fits in with the like more foresty feel of the, well, the outskirts of Ozaru. Yeah, I really just like the more like nature-driven feel of Planet Zoo right now. I don't know why. Like in Planet Coaster, I'm all about like, let's add a tower here, let's add a building here. Here I'm just more like, let's add a tree here. And yeah, I'm really happy with how everything turned out. So that's basically going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I also hope you had an amazing weekend, and yeah, if you enjoyed the video, I hope to see you back in the next one. I right now need to really get back into Plant Coaster if I want to have a video for tomorrow. So anyway, hope you had an amazing day, and bye bye!